Hi, Peggy.
Larry? Hi.
What?
I've invited a couple of other people to join. Kate Turner is going to log in, as is my brother Jim Turner.
I'm getting, I got to get this thing unmuted. Wonderful, Larry. Thank you. I am honored.
Yeah, that sounds like a good, lot of fun to meet new people.
Hi there. I've got to go find somebody to tell me to figure out how to keep this thing unmuted.
Well, I'm muting mine now.
I know. Does anybody have what is this? This is a little Apple thing here. I can unmute it holding I'm at church, holding the space bar down, but I got to show me how to keep it unmuted.
Larry, the lower left-hand corner where the microphone is, if you just click on that, that unmutes it on mine.
There you go.
No,
One thing though, all you have to say is good morning, Larry, and you get a lot of things at once.
Tell anybody show up, tell them I'll be right back.
Old dogs.
Yeah.
Peter, do you know if it's possible to record these or have some way of going back to them later, just as we do the sermons?
I do not know that. I've heard that they can do it, but I don't know how to do it. I am not a computer savvy guy.
Look at the upper left-hand corner of your screen.
It is recording.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
it is
You can
recording.
record
Okay.
it also. The upper
So-
left-hand corner of your screen
Right.
shows the place that says, well, it says it's recording
It's
already.
recording, yes.
I see that.
Every foolish thing we're saying is being recorded right now.
Don't worry, I'll edit before we post it to the interwebs.
What, when any of you get a chance to say something to Talia, I think she did an outstanding job this morning.
Thank you, Peter. I thought so too.
I told her I don't like to make comparisons, but I think it's her best sermon. And
That's
it
what
was,
Tracy said
yeah,
too.
it was just a great moment. Great
Yeah.
moment.
I'll have to do that
You
next.
should have broken into the whole Hosanna, Hosanna and sung the whole song.
I was tempted to.
Hi, Peggy. Hello, all. So Barb. There's Barbara. Barbara, good. Barbara Gibbs raced home from worship to get on Zoom for the seminar, and you can see she's got a complete smile that never changes. There she is.
Uh-huh.
Are you in the church library, Larry?
I am in the church library. I'm coming to you live from the church library. That's why all these scholarly books are behind me. And
Can you hear me?
I can, yes. I
I'm
can.
in my car
Oh my
in the
goodness.
parking lot, ready to go home.
Well, you're good. You're good. It's good. You can stay there and finish, or we'll hear you on the way home.
Okay, thanks.
As I say, I'm using a church computer here that I've never used, so it's working right now. I'm not going to mess with too much of anything.
Yeah.
Hello, McCulloughs, Kimberly, Andy. Hi there. Hi, John John Harvey and Fletcher. Tony's still in his arm sling there. Celia, welcome. Sheila, nice to see you. Marcia, hi there. That's sweet. Hi, Nora and Barb. Sally. Oh, there's Maureen. Sally was just at church. And Leslie, hi, Leslie. People whose pictures I don't see. Hi, Karen and Nancy. I don't know if everybody will show up on one screen or if I have to scroll around, but I'm afraid to do that and never get back to myself. So who knows?
So
There you go.
I just got here. You know that the link was wrong. Do you know that
I have no idea.
already?
I don't know where the link was wrong. How did you get here?
For the live service.
Oh, for the
posted
service?
link was not the right link, so most people couldn't find you all.
Oh, goodness.
But it got recorded. I found it by accident near the end, and it was a very nice service, and we'll get to enjoy it for many weeks and months to come.
It was beautifully done. Beautifully done.
Yeah.
Yes, it's it was pretty exciting to be together. The biggest difficulty, hi Candy, Bill, is that no one had name tags on and everybody had masks on. So
Uh-huh.
it was somewhat difficult. You know, if you weren't absolutely sure, it was vaguely difficult to remember who people were. And of course, that is those who remember being is the issue.
I've got a story to share with everybody on that regard for a moment.
Mhm.
There was a ward in a hospital, it's reported, where there were a lot of people that were in miserable shape because of COVID, and they were there for a long time. And obviously, everybody that came into the rooms of the patients had these masks on, and of course, all you could see were their eyes. So everybody on the staff got together one day and took Polaroid pictures of themselves without a mask. And they brought around these big panels of people's faces without masks to put in the rooms of all the patients. And the patients loved it.
Uh-huh.
That's a great idea. Yeah, that's really a good idea. It's just coming up to 10 o'clock. People are getting in. You know, I see hands all over Sandra's iPhone moving around. Oh, look at Jane's here. People rushed home from church. That's Sandy. Oh, that's oh, you're the Sandy's in the car. You're muted, Sandy, which is fine. Loyal friends.
I just got home. I'm in the garage.
Oh, there you go.
But I'll be walking around into the house in a minute.
Good. That's good.
I'll turn my video off.
You can
If I
walk
can
around
figure out.
if you want. Just don't get
be-
fancy.
Okay.
Don't look at Sandy's phone. It's going to bounce around getting into the house. See if the dog, you'll hear a dog when she goes in. She's muted now. Susan Hatch is from the Alps there. She's meeting us from the Rocky Mountains or the Alps. The clouds are going by. That's good.
The Alps. I think it might be a little disturbing. I'll change it, Larry.
It's the hereafter. It's our vision of heaven. Hi, Kate. Here's everybody's. Leslie, you're visual now.
You're being well attended, Larry.
Well, this is really nice of everybody. I really thought that by moving the thing to a time nobody knew about till about a day or so ago, and then being sandwiched between the services, I was ready for the classic words of Jesus, 2 or 3 gathered together, and it would be sufficient. So,
Larry, if you read the phone book, we'll come.
there we go.
On the ucgainesville.org page, it said the seminar was 11:15, which really scared me. But
Yes.
Apparently, we've got people who are resilient.
They are resilient, and I appreciate everybody being there. Hi, Paul. And that's great.
Either they're resilient or can't read.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to begin and welcome all of you. I'm not sure if I see all of you on the screen or not. I'm afraid to leave my current screen. I'm using the church's computer. I'm coming to you live from the library of the United Church of Gainesville with all the scholarly books behind me. The computer is sitting on a copy of The Message and Bill Moyer's book. So we just finished a service outside, which was wonderful, and I hope you'll have a chance to see the recording of it. Today's seminar is on our enduring fascination with the afterlife. The whole sense of the hereafter becomes much more relevant to me at this age in life, as I'm a little older and retired. But just this morning, I walked into the kitchen and I asked myself, what am I hereafter? There we go. So that's the last joke of the session.
We do miss Humor Sunday. Anyway.
So I'm Lisa Miller, wrote a book, Our Enduring Fascination with the Afterlife. So she stole my seminar title for her book. And she said, according to a 2007 Gallup poll, 81% of Americans believe in heaven, which is in fact more than people believe in God with any certainty in America. And it seems about there are as many ideas of heaven and eternity as there are people with ideas. And she believes that the less ministers preach about and speak about heaven and eternity, that the more books and opinions of varying quality appear. And she thinks ministers ought to speak a little more about it so we don't get quite so many wacko ideas out there. I always think of Easter as the time of our highest hope and our deepest doubt. We come to church on the Easter season with such celebration and so many people come. It's what we most hope for. And at the same time, I think at the base of it is our deepest doubt. So what I'd like to do is begin by asking anyone who would like to share. And I don't know how we'll do this, but maybe I'll call on people in the order I see. We'll just figure who wants to chime in. Sort of what is your highest hope in terms of the afterlife? And maybe perhaps what you most fear or doubt? Just 2 sentences, what you most hope for and what you most fear or doubt. And I would say for me is I do have the highest hope for a very solid afterlife with a solid reality, not just a floating around ethereal ghost-like thing. And my fear, perhaps, besides there being nothing, is that nothing could be as good as this life. So those are mine. So if you'd like, I'd like to hear sort of your highest hopes and your deepest doubts or fears.
This is Celia. My biggest fear is the pain of getting there, if that should happen. And my deepest hope is living in the light, I guess.
Good. Thank you. Go ahead and chime in. Or maybe I'll just go by it if you want to say something. Peter, do you want to say something?
I just wanted to say, not so much that I don't believe in an afterlife. It's that I believe that it doesn't matter. I'm living this life the best I can do, and so on like this. And if something happens later, that's well and good. If it doesn't, that's well and good too. This one was pretty good. This one I've got now. And I don't think it matters. It changes my behavior. I don't think it changes anything that's going on in my life, whether I believe in it or not.
Great. Thanks, Peter. Peggy, do you want to say something? I see you on my screen. You'll have to unmute, Peggy.
Peggy, you're muted.
I know, I'm trying to get there. Hold on.
Peggy Mix here.
Here. Am I on? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yes, even though I see you muted, but yes, go ahead.
Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. My greatest hope would be that I meet up again with all my family and loved ones and my Irish setter Autumn. And my greatest fear is that that's absolutely BS and that there is nothing beyond. And that's okay with me because I'm with the others. This life is good enough.
Good. Thanks, Peggy. Larry Turner. You're muted.
I was scratching my head. That's not fair. I would just ditto other people, frankly. I guess my greatest hope is that I'm wrong, because I don't have any confidence at all that there is hereafter. Like Peter said, and Peggy said as well, I have had, and I am having a very satisfying, very happy life with some downs, but mostly ups for me. And I hope to ride this one as long as I can, healthily and fully. And then whatever is next is next. I think probably not much.
Good. Thanks, Larry. Mary Applin.
Oh, well, interestingly, mine is just a little bit different. I'm looking forward to a space of losing my individual identity and joining my very imperfect individual identity and becoming part of a very perfect whole.
And any significant fear?
I think the dying process is more fearful to me than anything.
Good. Thanks, Mary.
But getting there ain't
Great.
for some reason.
Yeah. So highest hope, deepest fear. Kimberly, would you like to share anything? You're next on my list. You're still muted.
Okay.
Good.
I don't really believe anything's going to happen. I would like to think that there's a feeling of warmth and security and comfort and rest after everything. I probably fear, like everybody else, the process of getting there. And if nothing's there, I'm not going to know it anyway. So it's okay.
Good. Thanks, Kimberly. Andy.
Yeah, I can put it very succinctly. My hope is that there is, my fear is that there isn't.
Yeah, great, Andy. Thank you. Fletcher.
My hope is that in the afterlife, they teach you how to grow hair. My fear is that I'm going to end up looking, you know, like a gorilla.
You hope too much. Thanks, Fletcher. Tony.
I think my biggest fear is that the afterlife will be like what I was taught as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And I identify a lot with Peter and Mary. I'm not convinced that there is going to be an individuality in the afterlife, but I'm very, very hopeful of being connected with the wholeness and the perfection that I identify with God.
Good. Thanks, Tony. Jackie.
I guess my fear is that there is nothing, but I just, in my own mind, I think that God, however known, knows what's going to happen. And I just trust in whatever happens. Wonderful. I mean, if it doesn't happen, okay. If it does, why, I was wrong.
Okay, thanks, Jackie. Sheila.
Well, I really feel like I'm going to pass on this one. I'm still kind of taking it all in and thinking about it.
That's fine. Thank you, Sheila. If you want to come back, let us know.
Okay.
Okay, and I think Celia, you've already gone. Liz, we're asking just sort of your highest hope and deepest fear about eternity and afterlife. What's your sense?
Oh,
okay.
I hope that all my questions will be answered.
What about a fear?
I don't think I have a fear.
Great, thanks, Liz. John.
Yeah, I think my biggest hope probably is just that I actually get to communicate with family and friends that have gone before, that there's still some sort of a relationship in some way. I don't think I have a big fear. Like somebody said before, if there isn't one, well, then I didn't, I won't know it.
Yeah.
And I don't really fear the dying process either. I mean, I hope I don't go through a lot of pain, but I really don't. Somebody said, I don't fear in dying. I just don't want to be there when it happens.
Right.
Good. Thank you. Barbara Gibbs, are you home in the car still with us? She may not be able to. There she is.
I'm still, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm still here. I'm in the car, so excuse the background noise, but I think I kind of ditto on everybody else on, if there's nothing, then I won't even know. And, it would be nice to connect with loved ones, but maybe in a different way somehow. I think that's probably it.
Good, thanks, Barbara. Shelby, highest hope, deepest fears, Shelby Havens?
Hi, yes. So I think my hope is to reconnect with loved ones, you know, my beloved grandmother, my late mom, and, you know, people who've died. My concept of the afterlife is that I will live on in the hearts and minds of people that I've connected with and influenced, and that kind of has a ripple effect. That I won't continue to have consciousness, but I will live on in the consciousness of other people that I was close to. I don't have any particular fear. I don't fear hell because that's not a construct that's part of my belief system.
Yeah, thank you. Maureen?
Yeah, I'm not sure I can do the hopes and fears. I believe that when I die, whatever the energy is that is me will become part of some larger transcendent energy, sort of similar to an oversoul, I suppose. My fear, it's a little bit like what Tony said. My fear is that I really am going to wind up with the people who would allegedly be my loved ones from my family of origin. I didn't like them when I was there, and I don't want them in eternity.
Yeah, like a different model. Good. Thank you, Maureen. Moisha, would you like to share?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I want to be able to, if my hope is that I'll be able to connect with our son who passed at the age of 25, and our pets and our parents. But my fear mostly is that there might not be anything, and that this is it. And that's what I'm most scared of as I get older.
Yeah.
I think maybe this is it.
Thank you, Marcia. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Nora. You're still muted, Nora. You need to unmute. There we go. There you are. You're good.
Okay. Well, I find it surprising that people can separate their ideas about God from their ideas about the afterlife. To me, what I believe about what might happen is inextricably linked with how I think about God. Obviously, there's tremendous energy in the universe, as Maureen has just said. It takes tremendous knowledge, information to, from my perspective, to assemble a universe with the complexity that we see. I just don't think it's accidental. Maybe that intelligence that's responsible is not conscious. Maybe it's not a loving presence, but whatever it is, it's there. And I assume I'm somehow inextricably linked to it. If not, as Maureen just said, the energy, then maybe through consciousness. And there's been a lot of evidence that there is more on the other side. None of it is definitive, but I expect that my consciousness will somehow be subsumed into a much larger consciousness, and that all the questions will be answered. I hope so.
Thanks, Nora.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mary Crummer, highest hope, deepest fear. I'd like to, yeah.
Yeah, I imagine that what my hope is that I will be connected to those moments of love, of deepest love that I've experienced in this life. And in those connections of deepest love, I lose myself. And so I don't have a fear of losing myself. I think maybe those moments exactly exist in eternity. And my greatest fear is nothingness, but then if I give up the self, the nothingness isn't anything to be afraid of.
Good. Thanks, Mary. Nancy Dana.
I guess biggest hope, 3 words: comfort, peace, and connection. And I don't really think I have a fear. So
Well,
I'm sure there's one there, but
great.
I haven't really thought about it.
Thank you, Nancy. Susan Hatch.
So I'm going to sound kind of like the oddball in the group, I guess. I have a very strong belief in an afterlife. And not as described, I think, in most traditional religions. If I was asked what my greatest hope was, it would be to meet on the pathway out is to meet Jesus Christ. That would be my greatest hope. And my greatest fear would be not having accomplished the spiritual progress that I would have liked in this life.
Thanks, Sue. Candy Penner.
I used to worry a lot about, I hope that heaven is not pearly gates and all that. And about 20 years ago, I heard or talked to somebody that was talking about that you cannot imagine what heaven, whatever that is, will be like. Just as when you're in the womb, there's no possible understanding of what the life after birth is. So if the life in the womb and the life after birth is so totally different, then just accept that the life that you'll be going to, if there is one after death, is so totally different that your human mind can't even conceptualize. So I don't worry about it anymore, what it's going to be like. Although I do hope that there would be some kind of interaction or touching or something of the people that we've loved and dealt with in our lives, but that would be not totally with our today's personality and everything, but rather in some kind of way that even those that hurt us or that we hurt come together, and that love is the whole idea of it. And I have a little fear that there's nothing, but that's okay.
Thanks, Candy. Bill, highest hope, deepest fear.
I guess my fear first would be that we're able to have this kind of a conversation because of the evolutionary biological fluke of giving us the brain power to think and talk about this kind of stuff. So I guess then my fear would be that I never do find out where all the pencils went. That kind of thing.
Thanks, Bill. Linda, highest hope, deepest fear.
I'm kind of with Candy that my highest hope is that it is something I cannot even imagine. I just can't comprehend of what happens after death. And so I'm kind of with Candy on that. And my fear is the transition. I don't do well during transition. And so I'm assuming it'll be traumatic.
Good. Thanks, Linda. Jane, highest hope, deepest fear.
Oh, I just think about just all of the wonderful qualities that people have, but exponential, and what Liz Harvey had said about just kind of having this deep understanding of things. And then when you first said that, I thought, I'd love to meet my parents when they were young.
Wow. Yeah. Thanks.
And then I don't feel like I have any fear. That came to mind.
Thanks, Jane. Trish.
Oh, hi. Wow. I seem to be a bundle of huge hopes and huge fears. I've had so many deaths in my life. By the time I was 22 people in my family and friendship circle had died, and my daughter died 11 years ago. So my greatest hope is that I will get to see all these people again, and that I'm hoping that Christ was right when he said God is love, and that Elizabeth Kubler-Ross was right when she said the afterlife, life after life, is so incredibly wonderful that if we really knew what it was going to be like, we'd all commit suicide immediately to get there faster. So I'm hoping it's going to be a vibrant life. I would love to go snow skiing, hope there are mountains and snow. But my fears are, is the whole death and dying process, and that God, I hope I believe in an afterlife. I hope I'm not wrong, because if I'm wrong, then God, I'd hate to just be compost, decayed, a bunch of dead leaves in my backyard. So anyway, and I don't know what the process of dying is. I'd like it to be quick, die in my sleep, just not even know about it and wake up on the other side.
Good, thanks.
I'm surprised people don't have fears. I'm a bundle of them.
Leslie LeBaron.
I'm unmuting.
You're good.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. I didn't raise my hand, so you're calling on everybody.
Yes.
Yes.
And
I guess my hope is that I might reconcile with my father, who died when I was 17 and blamed me for his death, which of course I wasn't responsible for. I have no idea why he did that, but it left a lot of anger and hurt in my life, and be great to, have a reconciliation and kindness from him. And I guess I don't have too many fears. I have no idea. It's a big mystery to me. So I don't know what's coming. I kind of fear like when he died, he had a terrible heart attack. So he was in pain for some days. My mother died kind of peacefully at 94. So I kind of hope I go peacefully, but I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't really have any fear of the afterlife, because I figure it'll happen or I won't even know it.
Yeah, thanks, Leslie.
Thanks.
I've got a box here that says owner's iPhone. I don't know if there's somebody who knows they're next on the chart of people here. Let's see if is there more? Are there more people? Is there anybody else on that I'm missing, not seeing on my screen? Okay. Well, great. Okay.
Larry,
oh, there we
are.
are.
Sanford, I came on a little late. I guess I really liked Shelby's and Nora's and Candy's thoughts. Some of the people have expressed their views so eloquently. I can't match that, But I think our sense of the legacy we leave for how we touched others and we're touched by others. My greatest fear is that the afterlife would be like what I was taught when I was growing up, and that is I would spend all eternity glorifying God, kind of singing hymns to him, and it had to be him, and he sat on a big throne. And the more I think about it, that'd be more like hell than heaven, I think.
Yeah, the greatest fear is the best case scenario. Yeah, give it to you. Good. Anybody else that I'm not seeing on my screen? Thanks,
Risa.
Yeah.
Larry, I was thinking that my greatest hope is that I go back to where I was before I got here, because somehow I came happy to be alive, but I wasn't fearful of where I came from. This kiss of life was fine. And I think, like most people, I fear getting out of here. I hope the kiss is just as gentle when I leave.
Good.
I see myself kind of part of the ocean. I'm a wave, I'm just part of it, and that's my religion, I guess. I'm hoping I just go back.
Thank you, Risa. Paul, would you want to share anything? Highest hope or deepest fear? Got to put them back. You're muted right now, Risa.
Okay.
There we go. We're unmuted. Paul?
I do my best not to torment myself with things I don't understand and can do nothing about. So, I expect that I will blend in with the universe and go with whatever comes. It's interesting to speculate about whether or not my self-conscious self will continue.
Yeah.
I can't, that seems to me to be an incredibly selfish way of thinking of things. I expect myself will disappear, and that's okay.
Thanks, Paul. Anyone else want to chime in?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Pam.
Hi. I think my greatest hope is that I will be greeted actually by Jesus, by Gandhi, by Mary Magdalene, you know, a little group of people that I totally looked up to, and that yeah, I really and they high-five me kind of thing, like, yes, you did good that time. I think my only fear is the transition, and hoping to do it well, basically, to hope to learn what there is to learn in the dying process. So that's it.
Thanks, Pam. Anyone else want to chime in?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go.
Joyce?
Let's see, I guess I kept feeling like what a lot of people have expressed. My fears are the experience of the transition, if that would be difficult. I think also maybe there's a sense of possibly if I would have some regrets. You know, I would wish, I probably will, but I would wish that they're minimal. And then in terms of literally moving into the afterlife, I don't have any fears. I guess if there's nothing, that might be a disappointment, but I wouldn't know. My hopes are that it would be a time, I don't know if you've ever seen, there's a wonderful video on YouTube called A Neurosurgeon's Journey to the Afterlife by Eben Alexander, who wrote a book called Proof of Heaven, where he's a surgeon, had an experience, and his experience was, and he explains, that sounds pretty good to me. It's a combination of, you know, just a joyous experience of others and greeting them. So I'd love to greet my family, the people who are important to me in life. That would be huge. And then, of course, moving toward and encountering some sense of God, Jesus, and just kind of being absorbed in this enormous love that is more than words can explain. That would be wonderful.
Thank you, Joyce. Sandy, see you on the screen. Nope, okay. Anyone else?
Joyce, can you repeat that? Was it a YouTube video you mentioned? I'd love that information.
I tell you, I would highly recommend it. It's called A Neurosurgeon's Journey to the Afterlife. And I will go ahead and put it in the chat. So with the name of the author, in case anybody would like to get it from there.
Good. I think I'm trying to see this out. The brass may be warming up right outside this room. I don't know if I'm going to move them over a little bit. We'll see what happens. Well, thank you, everyone. I want to share with you some background.
Harry, it may be the final trumpet.
It could be the final trump, the big getting up morning, great getting up morning. We experience it right here. Yeah, that would be a great moment of irony if this were my last moment right here. So here we go. I want to give you a little background just in terms of heaven and hell 101 in the Bible. The original concept in the Bible of the earth was a three-tiered flat universe, and there was earth, and there was a dome over it, and above that was the heavens and the waters and the sky, and below was water too. So when the dome opened up, it would rain, and when the earth opened up, you'd have springs that would come from below. But there was God, and there were some angels, and there was no sense for a long time in the Bible of heaven or eternity being a place where people wound up. The concept of heaven as a place where people went when they died emerged about 200 years before the era of Jesus, the Common Era. It was late biblical Judaism. And by the time of Jesus, there was quite a large debate over the nature of heaven. The Sadducees, you heard of the Sadducees and the Pharisees. The Sadducees didn't believe in heaven, and they didn't believe in angels. And in fact, there's a passage in the Bible where they're trying to point out to Jesus the inconsistency of the whole thing and said, if you were married more than once on earth and you went to heaven, then who would you be married to in heaven? And Jesus answered that in heaven, people don't marry at all. They're just like angels, which I doubt if that impressed the Sadducees because they didn't believe in angels anyhow. So that was a sort of non-answer. Hell is first referred to in Judaism as Gehenna, Gehenna, which is a garbage dump outside the city that perpetually burns. The idea of hell as a place of eternal punishment really emerged in the Middle Ages when the church, in alliance with emperors and kings, needed to keep the population, the feudal population, in line. And that's when so many of the paintings that you'll see in cathedrals of Europe that depict this horrible suffering of hell were commissioned in painting, and they have almost nothing to do with any biblical images or background. Visions of eternity tend to change with human conditions, and sort of the passage that goes with my talk today is from the book of Revelation, where the writer says, "I saw a new heaven and a new earth, and the old heaven and the old earth have passed away." That in fact, our sense of heaven and perhaps even the realities of eternity change. But during the American Civil War, 620,000 young men died. It was 2% of the population. And up to that point, preachers had preached mostly on heaven as a beautiful, brilliantly lit place, but they didn't talk much about human contact. And that didn't bring comfort to people who had lost family members and friends to the degree to which that had occurred during the Civil War. And so the concept of meeting our loved ones, as many of us mentioned, began to emerge. There was a popular writer by the name of Elizabeth Stuart Phelps, who published her vision of heaven in a book called Gates Ajar. And it describes heaven as a place of utter beauty, where most importantly, we gather with our loved ones in wonderful meals and candlelight conversation. It was a bestseller during that time. It was surpassed in sales only by Uncle Tom's Cabin and the Bible. So that notion of gathering with people and having specific contact with people emerged really then as a place of reunion. It was also reinforced at the time by the person by the name of Emanuel Swedenborg, who was a Swedish mystic, 18th century. He believed that in death, people were sorted out not according to good and evil, but according to common interests. And Swedenborg has been called the Oprah Winfrey of his time. He believed that in heaven, people live together in large, like-minded communities in a place resembling a better earth. And there is an actual denomination called the Swedenborgians, and they still exist today. And guess what denomination they are affiliated with? United Church in Christ. They're in our denomination. In fact, when I came to UCG, I was actually invited to interview at a Swedenborgian church in Philadelphia. And those of you who remember Jeff Munnis, a member of this church who went into ministry, serves a Swedenborgian church in California. So that's a little strange, but it is that sense of being with like-minded people, which I think is an interesting, concrete view of eternity. Bishop Spong, John Shelby Spong, believes that when we die, we do live again, but he said the most important thing is we catch glimpses of eternity when we love wonderfully and wastefully in this world. So rather than thinking of all these stories as inconsistent and contradictory, I believe they are examples of the whole concept of that each new generation discovers, to paraphrase our compact, of new dimensions of heaven's truth. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay, a little background. Now, the biggest problem I've always had with any concept of heaven and hell is that I do believe that there needs to be some level of consequence of people who are terrible on earth. That there, whether it's justice or whatever, and some reward for people who have suffered and some reward for people who have valued life. But I always had a problem with, where's the dividing line? I mean, you can certainly see there's a Hitler over here and a Mother Teresa over here, but where is that thing like an SAT score, you know, where if you'd gotten 1 point more, you would have gotten into college of your choice, and 1 point less, you didn't. I've always felt that in many places in my life, gosh, you would have been the next person picked for the basketball team. If anybody drops off, you'll get there. So I've always have a problem with the division. And my favorite view of eternity is one that it would be like going to a classical music concert if you love classical music, or a Jimmy Buffett concert if you love Jimmy Buffett music. You can name your kind of music. Kevin, the standard is not the kind of music, but it's a place where the concert is, in fact, a sense of love being triumphant, that all the goodness has triumphed, and it's a place of sheer goodness. And if you've spent your life bullying and cheating and lying, it's going to be hell for you. If you've spent your life moving constantly toward love, then that atmosphere, that ethos would be heaven. And for a lot of us, and most of us, we would still be learning and evolving, that it's not a static place. That's one image that served me well in terms of thinking how the afterlife might be structured. I believe that stories of heaven reflect the ways God is still speaking in our life. And I think they're best left as stories to dream on rather than blueprints to argue about. I've loved every story I've heard from all of you. They all bring me an aha, give me a sense of wonder and openness. One of the ways that works for me is, any of you know the author Marilyn Robinson and her book, Gilead. It's about an aging minister who is married late in life and has a young son. And in this book, he's trying to communicate the things he wants this son to know and remember. And the minister has a friend named Boughton. And one day they're discussing theology, and the minister asks Boughton, his friend Boughton, what do you believe about heaven? And here's one of my favorite quotes. He says, mainly I think of the splendors of this world and just multiply them by 2. I think of the splendors of this world and multiply them by 2. He said, I'd multiply them by 10 or 12 if I had the energy, but 2 is much more than sufficient for my purposes. And that brings me to my absolute favorite story of heaven. And it comes from my mother-in-law, Evelyn Sebastian. She died in 2013 at the age of 93. And in her later life, she was at the Village and then in assisted living in the Rose Court at the Village. And we often would bring her out to the house we have on Lake Santa Fe. And in that house, there's a 2nd floor porch that looks out to a cypress grove. And then behind the cypress grove is the lake. And so we had gotten Chinese food, which was her favorite food. And we were sitting on this porch in I think an October afternoon. And she was with Sandy, whom she loves dearly, and me, whom she learned to accept. And she looked, eating Chinese food, looking out on the lake, and she said, I just hope heaven's as good as this. And that is stuck with me It's what I said earlier. I hope heaven has this concrete reality to it. I have a hard time imagining it being better than my life on earth, but I have a very good life. So I understand that's different for people who have a different kind of struggle. So those two things, I mean, three images really, the concert where the standard is love, Fountain saying, I see the best wondrous parts of life and multiply them by two. And Sandy's mom saying, I hope heaven's as good as this. They stick with me. And I'm going to read a poem by one of my favorite poets, Billy Collins, which in some ways pulls this together. This is a poem he wrote called The Afterlife. Billy Collins was the poet laureate of the US from 2001 to 2003. And he says, while you are preparing for sleep, brushing your teeth, or rifling through a magazine in bed, the dead of the day are setting out on their journey. They're moving off in all imaginable directions, each according to their own private belief. And this is the secret of that silent Lazarus would not reveal, that everyone's right, as it turns out. You go to the place that you always thought you would go, the place you kept lit in an alcove in your head. And some are being shot up in a tunnel of flashing colors into a zone of light, white as the January sun. And others are standing naked before a forbidding judge who sits with a golden ladder on one side and a coal chute on the other. And some have already joined a celestial choir and are singing as if they've been doing this forever, while the less inventive find themselves stuck in a big air-conditioned room full of food and chorus girls. And some are approaching the apartment of a female god, a woman in her 40s with short, wiry hair and glasses hanging from her neck by a string. With one eye, she regards the dead through a hole in her door. And then there are those who are squeezing into the bodies of animals, eagles and leopards, and one trying on the skin of a monkey like a tight suit, ready to begin another life in a more simple key, while others float off into some benign vagueness, little units of energy heading for the ultimate elsewhere. And there are even a few classicists being led into the underworld by a mythological creature with a beard and hoofs. He will bring them to the mouth of a furious cave, guarded by Edith Hamilton and her three-headed dog, all those who've read Edith Hamilton's mythology. The rest just lie on their backs in their coffins, wishing they could return so they could learn Italian, or see the pyramids, or play some golf in light rain. They wish they could wake in the morning like you and stand at a window examining winter trees, every branch traced with the ghost writing of snows. So that's Billy Collins, The Afterlife. It's not scripture. It stretches me to realize that the God who loves all humankind unconditionally, whatever shape our faith takes, welcomes each of us into our own eternity. And my final scripture passage is Gospel of John. He says, do not be worried or be afraid. There are many rooms in my father and mother's house, and I'm going there to prepare a place for you. I would not tell you this if it were not so. So those are the thoughts I wanted to share with you. I think they go quite well with the thoughts you shared with me. It's a blessing to have a chance to think about these things and hear from you. And we have a few minutes. Do you have any questions or comments? Again, I can't see you all on the screen, so if you want to chime in, just do so.
Larry,
Yeah,
I have a comment.
maybe, yeah.
Every now and then I think I look at the photos that NASA provides, and I see these beautiful photos of Earth from a distance. And to me, it just seems we are so insignificant when we look at the entire Earth from outer space. And I think if there is and I do believe there's some form of intelligence beyond our understanding, and it may be God, it may be some other form, I don't know. But if there is an afterlife, I think it's an opportunity for us to learn and grow and maybe understand why we were born here in the first place.
Thank you, Peggy. Anybody else have any comments, reflections? Yes.
Larry, I'd like to thank you and all of our friends here at UCG that have this kind of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I have struggled for many years with the fact that I say and do so many things every day that statistically, some part of that has to be wrong. They can't all be right. So hearing the opinions of this biggest topic of life, of what is it, afterlife, has really helped me.
Thank
and
you.
I think that I can close the book on a few of the things that I have thought were probably wrong, but couldn't bring myself to closing the chapter on it. So thank you, and thank you, friends.
Thank you, Bill.
So Larry, this is Larry Turner.
Yeah.
I have to say, I'm a bit disappointed. I was expecting the great reveal.
You heard it right there, man. That was it. Tony, did you want to go? You're still muted, Tony.
You missed that, Larry. It was drowned out by the trumpet. The rest of us got it.
Okay.
Larry Turner.
Yes. Oh, you missed Larry Turner? Okay.
Larry Turner missed the big reveal. It was drowned out by the trumpet.
The trumpets, right.
Larry, this is Maureen.
Yes.
I wanted to thank you for both the breadth and the depth of your presentation. Given me a lot to think about, and I just very much appreciate what you've done. And reminder of the Billy Collins poem. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And Larry Turner, as a follow-up to your comment, I think why we have an enduring fascination with the afterlife is we just don't know. And it's so baffling. It's like, why were we born? You know, what's it all about, and where are we going? And that's it's the existential ambiguity, I think, that keeps us, we're all trying to figure it out. And I don't know that it's possible until you cross over to whatever.
Mm-hmm. I think also, you know, the notion in the UCC of the fact that God is still speaking, that this is all dynamic and that the things emerge. So it's because our morality, our ethics have changed over the years too. So it's to me, it was fascinating just to find these different perspectives. And especially for me, I keep looking, I'm interested in the more concrete, and so it was good. Thank you.
You know, I love Byron Katie, and she says, I'm creating my heaven or hell right here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what comes later, says my favorite position is, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's also Bishop Spong saying it's the what we do here that leads to that. I'm going to we're about ready to be done. I thank John Harvey and the Board of Adult Ministry for inviting me to do this seminar today. It was a lot of fun, and it was fun to be, I was, to be sandwiched in between the services. People are showing up for the second one here. I'm going to wrap it up in a second. Let John, if you have anything else you want to say about what's coming. And
well, we have a lot more interesting seminars coming. We're going to use this new time slot to try to work between the two services. We have some coming up, for example, on meditation. So just encourage everybody to look at the titles and remember we're changing the time. And thanks again, Larry. This was wonderful.
Thank you.
Remember, Sunday Seminar Committee members, we have a Sunday Seminar Committee meeting on April Fool's Day, April 1st, Thursday at 9:30 in the morning.
That ought to be fun. Good.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. It was beautiful.
You were terrific. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, for coordinating.